So one of the things I wanted to talk about today are what-if scenarios. Now, what-if scenarios in a violent encounter is quite an important thing to take on board. Why? Because what you're doing is you're training your brain to deal with violent encounters. Now, training your brain sounds a little bit strange, because if you think about it, most of the time, what we always do is we train physically. We look at this idea of someone throws a punch and you hit, and you hit, and you hit. Maybe throw another punch. Make it really dynamic. Bang, bang. The thing is, we put so much time and effort into dealing with punches and kicks and so on, and what we very rarely do is train the brain for fighting. Now, what do I mean by train the brain for fighting? Well, if you're in a scenario, actually, let's strike again. Let me change that. The easiest way of explaining it is, do you know what you don't know? Do you know the unknowns? No, that's the point. And most people always train for the known. What they do is they train for someone throws a haymaker, throw a haymaker, boom, boom, bang, throw another hand, be dynamic, throw, just keep going. You know, they might train for this sort of stuff, and they might train for it because it's unknown. You know the person's going to throw a punch, you know they're going to throw another punch, you know they're going to throw a knee. Because why? Because they've got two arms, two legs. If they've got one arm, I always say to people, you're a bully. The point of what I'm trying to say is when people train for self-defense, what they do is they train against the known, they don't train against the unknown. And that's why a what-if scenario comes in quite handy. What-if scenario is basically a way of thinking a little bit more about what can go wrong as you're going along. So if we're talking about punches, for example, I don't know, throw a punch from it, we're making this up as we're going along, by the way, but I'm trying to give you the idea. Maybe push, okay? So we start with a push. If he starts with a push, the idea of the what-if scenario is that what would be the next thing that he's likely to do? What if he, from there, throws the punch, bang, and hits me? That's a what-if scenario. The other what-if scenario is that if he pushes, okay, he might actually run in and then headbutt me. Okay, come in, bang, and headbutt me. It's a simple way of looking at it. But let's now make it a little bit more dynamic. And here's the fun thing. What if he pushes me and draws a weapon? That was a bit slow. That was really slow. Like boom, bang, 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 boom. I want a bad guy like him in the real world. Okay, give me the weapon. Give me the weapon. I'll do it. The point of what-if scenario is, can I have the handgun as well? Sure. Okay. The point of what-if scenarios are very, very simple. Okay. What you're learning to do is create. Obviously, he doesn't see the weapons. This is the whole point of the what-if scenarios. Obviously, we're creating a situation where you're creating a training flow that's very dynamic, that changes according to the point of contact that you have. We're dealing with violent encounters, but the variables will change, and this is the point I wanted to make. So say, for example, I throw a punch at my partner, bang, okay, you can actually say that he's going to get his hands up, right? Now, you can say to me, well, the best thing to do from there, depending on the way that you learn to fight and your style, is that you close the gap and you get in. But what if you're doing that and I suddenly pull my knife out and I start going 1, 2, 3? Does that make sense? Yeah? And then from there, maybe, I don't know, you try to wrap the knife. It's probably too late by then anyway because you're pretty much dead. So the point of what-if scenarios is to create dynamic training scenarios where what you're doing is you're constantly changing the variables. So let me give you another example. You say, I present you, okay, a situation where I'm the bad guy. He doesn't know I've got a firearm, okay? He assumes that I've got a knife. So I'm the bad guy. Okay, this is a classic one. So I'm harassing you. What should Nick do? You out there, leave a comment on the YouTube. Tell me what you think he should do. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Right. The answer is very, very simple. He should make distance. Everybody would say that. Make distance. Right. Now, that's absolutely fine. But if he makes distance and I pull out a handgun, okay, then he's obviously in trouble because what I've done is I've pulled out a handgun and he's made distance. The problem with dealing with firearms essentially is that you're actually in the distance of dealing with the weapon. So this is ideal for me holding the weapon. If, for example, we were closer, okay, and you've got your hands up and you go on your attack, and I draw a knife, then that's completely different. This is, again, worst case scenario for him, because we're very, very close, okay, and being close, I have the weapon, he comes in, bang, 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 I can start to stick him with a weapon, or hold the weapon out and start to stick and stab around, okay. The point of what I'm trying to say is the what if scenarios change with the dynamics of the movement, or the dynamics of the drill. So what I'm putting out to you guys is to perhaps consider the way that you train. Try to train in a much more dynamic, flexible way with the way that you think. I'm not sure if I'm getting these ideas out on camera. It's something that we do a little bit. We sort of tempt into this. But the point of what I'm trying to get you to think about is assessing the variables. Now I'm going to do a few more videos on risk assessment and how you assess risk and the type of decisions that you should make, especially when you have weapons in play. But the key thing I'm trying to get across is what ifs are basically very simple. What if I grab you? And if I grab you, what if he then turns around and maybe throws another punch, bang, over the top? Or what if he goes to kick me in the groin, go to knee me in the groin, bang. That's a very flexible way of thinking. Go again, bang. That's a flexible way of thinking about what ifs. But now what I'm going to challenge people to do that train for self-defense is what if a little bit more detail. So what if we're fighting and he suddenly reaches for his firearms, okay? Or what if we're fighting and he suddenly pulls out a knife? You know, this is really what we're considering. It'd be great to hear what you guys think. I'll keep it pretty short on this because I've made my point. What if scenarios are quite useful. Train them, they're valuable for self-defense. Thanks for watching.